what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
What is going on out there, peeps? Alright, I told you, they're planning a civil war. Many people don't know this. In the 2020 election, the Democrats had met with the Pentagon about how to run a coup and have Trump removed. Yeah, the Pentagon was involved. They had ran all kinds of scenarios up on the board on what it is they needed to do and how they were going to go ahead and do them and just go after Trump and Trump supporters. And this is their plans, because for some strange reason, there sure is a lot of talk about locking up Trump supporters in re-educational camps. Here's one: Democrat challenging Stefanik in congressional race calls for re-educating Trump supporters.
Even if we were to have a resounding blue wave come through, as many of us would like, putting it all back together again after we've gone through this MAGA nightmare. And re-educating, basically, which that sounds like a rather a re-education camp. I don't think we really want to call it that. I'm sure we can find another way to phrase it.
So when you look at how to go forward for the country, as you say, is there any area of coalition building that could happen? There are pragmatic Republicans, as you say. Could there be a whole new way of trying to, get legislation going and cross-party governance going by Democrats and certain Republicans forming a coalition?
Well, you saw the number of Republicans who voted along with Democrats to keep the government open. So there's clearly a common sense, sane part of the Republican caucus in the House. But I think they are intimidated. They oftentimes, say and do things which they know better than to say or do. And it will require us defeating those most extreme measures and the people who promote them in order to try to get to some common ground where people can, again, work together. That's the way it used to be. I mean, we had very strong partisans in both parties in the past, and we had very bitter battles over all kinds of things, gun control and climate change and the economy and taxes. But there wasn't this little tail of extremism wagging the dog of the Republican Party as it is today. Mm-hmm. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
Does Hillary Clinton want to lock you up? The former Secretary of State said in a recent interview that Americans who spread misinformation should face criminal penalties. Let's watch.
And boosting Trump back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
Oh, you heard them right. How many of you guys remember when AOC said that people should start keeping a list and write down all those people who support Trump? So she wanted to keep a list like they did in Germany. It's funny how they always say, well, we're the peaceful people and all Trump's people, all they want to do is kill democracy and all that crap, but they're the ones constantly destroying it. If they don't get their way during the vote, they're talking about preventing Trump from getting into office. They planned with the Pentagon what a coup would look like and go in there and force Trump out of office. You have Hillary Clinton say Americans should be deprogrammed. So you have Hillary Clinton and another Democrat saying that Trump supporters need to go to re-education camps and be deprogrammed. You have Hillary Clinton saying that they need to violate our constitutional rights and go after people who are posting memes about her that she doesn't like, claiming it to be misinformation, and that those people should be criminally charged, violating our First Amendment rights. This isn't the first time they've had this kind of rhetoric. Come on, man. They do this all the time, and then they accuse Trump supporters, the mega extremists, of being the ones who are plotting this kind of stuff when it's clear that it's them that's doing this. I'll prove it to you again. Yeah, Lisa Fidian, a 300-a-day professional protester. How is it that she is still out of jail? She was involved and filmed on the campus in Columbia protesting. Now keep in mind, they locked up over 1,000 people for the January 6th so-called riots. But you didn't see anybody burn any buildings down, graffiti, anything, and the smashing of the windows came from Antifa. Now, I'm not saying Trump supporters were innocent, because there's a few of them in there that are more than happy to go along with what's going on. That's fine, get them. But some people have been doing time just for walking through the building. And these people have been filmed clearly damaging the campus, destroying it, vandalizing, locking people out, impeding people from going to classes. And this woman's behind a ton of protests that have been happening here in the United States. She's paid big bucks, $300 a day. She has a protesters boot camp. You can clearly hear her organizing it, giving instructions on what to do.
We gotta flip it, I think.
Yeah, that ties on there. Okay. You can tie it right to the wall. Okay, let's give them a little cover. Let's give them a little cover. Camera's back, camera's back. Cover! That's all right. We're trying to document them being at.
1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no
You're right.
more.
January 6th people did way far less than what this woman is doing, and she's still walking around. She hasn't been arrested. Nothing happens to her because she literally works with the Democrats. Now they want to talk about January 6th people are really bad. It's worse than 9/11, which is just bullcrap. How about the fact that she was attempting a coup against Trump? And so were a whole lot of people. Not only that, we're going to be able to see their faces as well as their names. Pay attention because this is real. Listen to how they plot. And listen who they work for. They're government contractors. They work for the Defense Department. They work with the Democrats. The Democrats are part of this as well. While these people are talking, if you look over here, there's all kinds of things going on in the chat. Feel free to pause it and read some of those comments.
I'm a management and programs analyst.
I work in the national security community.
I spent 3.5 years as a contractor at DHS HQ.
If you read the mainstream press, like they all have Signal accounts. Text them, leak everything you can.
I think making sure that we're naming what is happening as a coup.
Totally agreed in the shutdown DC conversations that I've been having, and that's not on the federal side. We also are often saying, like, call it a coup.
Do we have any plans for how to respond if there's a coup?
On the 5th, we're going to shut down the White House.
Map the White House and know every access point so we knew we could blockade it.
On the 6th, we're going to shut down larger parts of Washington, D.C.
We've been working on a target map and a framework for scenario. So where are all the police stations? Where are all the key government buildings? Who are the Trump boosters?
Members of Congress that are coming in, we're going to meet them at the airports or at Union Station and send them back to where they came from until we deal with the situation that we're in.
We are going to be in a crisis, but we want it to be one that we are creating. Whoever's got the guns can win. Let's take over the buildings. If there are people that are willing to do that, we should support them. Get ready to shut your city down on the 4th or the 5th.
Our undercover inside the Sunrise Movement was able to obtain exclusive video footage inside Zoom chats where Shutdown DC, BLM, and other leftist organizations are coordinating a multi-level coup action exercise utilizing insider help from Democrat Party members.
That's what an abolitionist world looks like,
as well as federal employees and intelligence contractors.
Let's talk about what actions and decisions are in your immediate sphere of influence as somebody who works in the government.
I think making sure that we're naming what is happening as a coup in different language and communications with coworkers will be really important.
Totally agreed in the shutdown DC conversations that I've been having, and that's not on the federal side. We also are often saying, like, call it a coup. It's a coup. Don't let anyone tell you it's not.
Disruption. If you're on this call, you might be inclined to like that working group. Disruption is all about the smaller actions that can make up our movement. So they're about connecting people to affinity groups, and then thinking through how do we take action to actually disrupt business as usual.
Who's involved and to what extent, we don't know. But what we do know is that our insider inside the Sunrise Movement and other radical organizations was able to give us recordings of Zoom chat meetings involving Shutdown DC. So-called peaceful protesters and outside agitators, including members of the Democrat Party, federal employees, and government contractors, are coordinating street actions with intergovernmental involvement. Black Lives Matter, Shutdown DC, the Sunrise Movement, Antifa factions, and many, many more are involved. They call themselves affinity groups, and they coordinate their compartmentalized actions together. In one meeting, they are discussing and training for high-risk actions.
I really want to hear from Shut It Down DC about this. Do we have any plans for how to respond if there's a coup?
Yeah, we have been in discussion for a couple months about how to respond to different contested election scenarios. First step is that we think that we need to start the post-election phase in the streets.
Helen.
What's up?
Yeah, we need you to stop talking now.
We are going to Senator Lindsey Graham's house at 6 a.m. We'll be there from 6 to 8 with Sunrise DC.
Good morning, Lindsey Graham!
We reported about this planned event prior to it happening by obtaining a recording of their training session. Our information was able to get law enforcement on the scene to keep the agitators from vandalizing and breaking into the senator's home.
I heard someone in the chat talking about revolution time. And so I encourage, for all of us to be fighting for revolution before today, tomorrow, afterwards.
So we're inviting people to come to BLM Plaza anytime after 4 p.m. on election night. And we're going to watch what's going on together. On the 5th, we're going to shut down the White House.
So let's say we want to shut down the White House and make sure nobody goes in and out. right? We would need to have map the White House and know every access point so we knew we could have blockade it. But then we would need more people to support that. So we might say Black Lives Matter Plaza and the African American Museum on the Mall Constitution are 2 public assembly sites, so we can quickly move large numbers into zones of potential conflict. So we're talking about what would it take to surround the White House and have people do stuff. We can divide it up easily with affinity groups.
On the 6th, we're going to shut down larger parts of Washington, D.C. Congress is planning on coming to town and passing laws again and like having business as usual. And we're saying if we're in a coup, there's no time for business as usual.
Is there a scenario that might play out that would cause us to all go and shut down an airport?
Members of Congress that are coming in, we're going to meet them at the airports or at Union Station and send them back to where they came from until we deal with the situation that we're in.
We're going to see potential fighting all over the country or in some hot spots, right? We've already seen that. And so how do we work together across the country to help support each other no matter where we are and to maximize our impact by doing similar things on similar days at similar time? We have to be willing to put our bodies on the line and take on some discomfort, sacrifice, risk in order to change things. If there should be a coup, we should be clear. It's got to go. Trump's got to go. And if there are people that are willing to put their body between the white militia and a bunch of people that are mobilized, I want to do nothing other than support them, have their back. I think spray painting cameras that are security cameras trying to track us could be smart. I don't want to get killed. Nobody wants to get killed.
Yeah. And so part of what we learn is like if you're escalating and I escalate, we're going to go like this.
Lisa Fithian is a National Steering Committee member of United for Peace and Justice, a coalition of over 1,000 local and national groups, and member of the national team of Extinction Rebellion.
I am someone that has had to sort of rethink my own orientation to nonviolence over the years, because when we enter a moment where we are now, where you have armed militia that have shot and killed people, that are threatening to arm up. More guns have been sold in this country in the past period than Lord knows how many, where people use their cars to drive into people. When I think about what we may face, I say to myself, we are way out of our league.
Yeah, I've said that before, way out of their league. So I'll leave a link so you guys can watch the full video, but this was planned before. It started down that path. If you guys remember, we started seeing the Summer of Love in 2020, but you heard Lisa, she said it's time for her to rethink violence. Usually she wants to do these things nonviolent. They're afraid that Trump supporters or the people on the right are armed to the gills. They're experienced fighters. These people go out and they target practice, they hunt. You know what I mean? A lot of them come out of the military. So she said, well, I'm afraid violence might happen. If you try to remove Trump, that's going to come across as a coup. Americans are going to feel the need to respond violently because the time for talking is past. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse, the attacks against the people on the right. And they keep claiming, oh, Trump supporters are the worst. They're so violent. They're so mean. No, over 1,000 people got arrested for what happened on January 6th. All you heard was a louder noise in the videos and they're pumping them arms, and sure, a few windows broke and people walked into the building. That's nothing, and I mean nothing, like we saw during the Summer of Love. So what is the resolution? So when I tell you that this country is lost, you can see why. Both sides are already dug in. They are not going to cooperate. Unless God Almighty came down here and somehow watched over an agreement for peace between both sides, it's not going to happen, you guys. When the left keeps talking about arresting Trump supporters, putting them in re-educational camps, charging them for posting memes, violating our Constitution. They keep talking about saving democracy, but they keep talking about ways to violate our Constitution. The Supreme Court already ruled. Just because you don't like the ruling and it didn't go in your way, that doesn't mean that they're all of a sudden extremists too, because that's what they're calling them, extremists, claiming that they have to stack the courts just to get their way. Understand that they're part of that bigger worldwide agenda. What you see happening here is happening all around the world. And I said this in the last video, grabbing control of the United States is the big trophy. Because once you have control of that country, then they can force other countries to go into this agenda. So do people actually want to go out and fight? I'm sure people would rather be peaceful. Each side is fighting for what they believe. And unfortunately, our media isn't helping. Politicians aren't helping. They're just fanning the flames. Enough about all the name calling, enough about your science is right. How about we just hold an actual national televised debate for these subjects? Let the people decide. And that's how it should be. Because I don't trust anybody that just puts forward one side and not another. And then claiming that the other people are spreading disinformation and therefore they should be arrested. Because that's what the left does. You heard Hillary Clinton. They want to criminally charge people for what she's calling disinformation memes. In other words, violate our First Amendment rights. So as I listen to everybody talk and I see these things all playing out, I'm asking myself, are we going to be in a civil war or are we going to be in a revolutionary war? Because right now it looks more like a civil war. But if we can unite, it can turn into a revolutionary war. This is us fighting each other. This is us fighting the establishment. There is a difference. Now I told you, besides war, there is another resolution. But it takes all of us. We have to unite. We have to stand behind this. The Constitution primarily protects the rights of individuals who are citizens of the United States. This includes those born in the United States, as well as individuals who have come through the naturalization process to become a citizen. The rights guaranteed under the Constitution include those found in the Bill of Rights, apply to all U.S. citizens. Because there was this movement about how the Constitution is only for white people and not black people, or only for males and not females. And I was like, good Lord, man, it covers everybody. So don't get sucked down that rabbit hole. Don't even waste your time fighting it anymore. The Constitution protects all American citizens, period. Non-citizens, while many provisions of the Constitution explicitly mention citizens, certain rights extend to non-citizens as well. For example, non-citizens residing in the United States are entitled to due process under the 5th and 14th Amendments, which protects against arbitrary denials of life, liberty, and property. Additionally, non-citizens have some protections under various amendments that ensure equal protection under the law. So you have to ask yourself this. This is time to have serious reflection here. You have to ask yourself this. If predominantly the left takes over, do you think they're going to honor the Constitution? No. They're already talking about destroying it, that it's an old document. So what does that mean about our rights? What they want to do is destroy their enemy. Now, if the right takes over, what do you think is going to happen? Well, they're fighting for a constitutional republic. They're going to say you're damn well going to follow the Constitution, period. They're not out to destroy. They're just out to end the stupidity that's being spread all around the world. The Constitution also applies to individuals who reside within the United States territories, regardless of their citizenship status. This includes lawful permanent residents, green card holders, and undocumented immigrants who may still invoke certain constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizures, the 4th Amendment, and cruel and unusual punishment, the 8th Amendment. So yes, non-citizens are extended some constitutional rights, but that's how great the document is. So what does this all mean for us? Well, we have a choice we have to make, because the Constitution not only gives us this right I'm about to explain to you, but the Constitution demands that you do it. It's not even an option. You have an obligation to do this. The right to declare independence is fundamentally rooted in the principles of self-governance and inherent rights of individuals. This concept is articulated in the Declaration of Independence, which was adopted by the Continental Congress July 4th, 1776. The Declaration asserts that when a government becomes destructive to the ends of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is not only a right, but also a duty for the people to alter or abolish the government. The Constitution demands that you do something about it. They're not asking you to do it. It's your damn obligation as a citizen of the United States. We all are bitching about our government. It doesn't make a difference what side you're on. That's why I said in my last video, answer these questions. Do you trust the presidency? Do you trust Congress? Do you trust the judicial system? Do you trust law enforcement? Do you trust the educational institutions? Do you trust medicine? Do you trust the medical professions? Because right now, I'm almost positive most of you don't trust any of them. We are at that state now where we're supposed to be doing exactly what our Constitution tells us that we are obligated to. Since we, the people, give consent for the government to have the power that they do, we also have the right to take it back. See where it's underlined in bold? A duty for the people to alter or abolish the government. They're not saying it's just your right. They're saying you're obligated to stop what is out there. This is what I'm telling you. Declaring our independence right now would take serious unity. Principles of natural rights. The Declaration begins with the philosophical foundation stating that certain truths are self-evident. All men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights by their Creator. The rights include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This assertion here is that these rights are inherent and cannot be surrendered or transferred. Period. None of these rights can be surrendered or transferred. So here's where people go, see, it says all men are created equal. How come it didn't say all people? Man, it includes everybody, period. Calm down. Government's role. Governments are installed among men to secure these rights, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. You see what this says? They're saying the government is instituted. It's installed. We vote them in. And their job is to protect our rights, not violate them, by talking about you should go to jail if you post a meme I don't like. Deriving their powers. In other words, the Congress gets their powers from us. We give them the power to govern us. It is our consent. We are allowing them to do this. This means that any legislative government must have the approval of those it governs. If it fails to protect their rights or acts against their interests, it loses its legitimacy. It is way past losing its legitimacy. They're supposed to be talking to us about what we want them to do, not the other way around. Them passing bills and sending trillions of dollars everywhere, they didn't get our permission to do that. They didn't get our permission to flood our country with millions of immigrants spending taxpayer dollars. Right to alter or abolish government. The Declaration explicitly states that when a form of government becomes destructive to these ends, the protection of life, liberty, and happiness, it is not only the right, but also the duty of the people to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. These principles emphasize that citizens have an active role in shaping their governance. It is our job to whip these people into shape. And when we can't do it through voting because none of us have faith in the voting system anymore, what other remedy is there? People don't trust the voting, with good reason. The document lists grievances against King George III as evidence of his tyranny over the colony. These grievances illustrate how his actions were perceived as violations of the natural rights and just governance principles. The colonists believed that they had exhausted all peaceful means for redress before resorting to declaring independence. Have we not exhausted all peaceful means and asked for redress? If you go into a town meeting and you yell and you have the right to cuss them out and you can do whatever you want. As long as you don't violently attack the representatives, you can yell all you want. You can do the same thing to a peace officer if you want. They can't do anything about it. That's your First Amendment right. But when you go to these town meetings and they tell you that certain people can't come in here, or when you get loud, they have you locked up just for yelling, they're not redressing our issues. People are telling them at these town meetings they don't want them to do certain things, and they're still doing it. And then they want certain things stopped. You can go on YouTube right now and go to all the city halls, all the town meetings, and just put on there, the residents are upset about all the illegal aliens coming in, and just hear these people cuss these other people out. They told them to stop, and they still allow these illegal immigrants to flood their cities. So how is our representatives doing the will of their people? Now they come on a media and they go, well, this is what most Americans want. No, bullshit. It isn't. Because now we can't trust our media to tell us the truth. Their job is to represent us, not special interests. And it is painfully obvious that there's a group of people out there causing shit and everywhere around the world. And again, I ask you, what is the solution? What avenues are available to us? Civil war, revolution. Nobody wants to go to war, period. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to kill others. After I have these long chats with people on these social media platforms, and I watch them bicker back and forth about the stupidest shit in the world, and I keep asking myself, good Lord, man, we are truly there. If people can't even agree on the simplest thing as to who gives a crap about how you pronounce Kamala Harris's name, about pronouns, they, them, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. They have us so divided and distracted with stupid bullshit that we're not focusing on what should be a clear picture to you, that there is a movement right now to take control of the United States and turn it into a communist country. This isn't hyperbolic, it's a movement. And they were smart enough to not come with guns and try to take over. No, they're destroying this country from within. And how I know that is when I ask those questions over and over again. Do you trust any of the things I mentioned before? So I'm asking you, what is the solution? I don't want war. Most people don't want war. But some of us get so upset, we're like, look, there isn't anything left over to do. Nobody is agreeing. Nobody's uniting. Something has to be done because we can't continue to go this way. Because if we continue to go this way, we are distracted from the fact that there's people changing our ways of lives, violating our constitutional rights, flood the country with illegal immigrants, and you have the left openly talking about shooting Trump and throwing his supporters into re-education camps. It's ridiculous. That should piss you off. Anyways, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Am I right? Are we there? Let me just ask you that. Are we here yet? Is our form of government destructive to the ends, the protection of life, liberty, and happiness? Is our government protecting our rights and our liberties? Or are they trying to find ways to violate them? Force us into the central bank digital currency, forcing us to take the jab, openly talking about having a disinformation board. Are you kidding me? Our government is coordinating with social media platforms to censor their citizens, violate their rights. Is that the government you wanted? Are those people there making sure that the Constitution is being followed, or are they violating it? Like I said, anyways, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I'm out.